Welcome back to 3 Up, 3 Downs division breakdowns. We've moved on to the National League. We just wrapped up on the NL East. We're moving on to the NL Central. The division champs, the St. Louis Cardinals, a team that had potentially the two shoo-ins for the NL MVP. It ended up being Goldschmidt, even though Arenado could have easily done it as well. But the fact is, they've got a fantastic lineup. Let's take a look at it. Leading off for this Cardinals roster, Tommy Edman, followed by center fielder Tyler O'Neill, first baseman Paul Goldschmidt, MVP, followed by third baseman Nolan Arenado, big free agent signing, the replacement to the guy, the legend in the Cardinals uniform, Yadi Molina. He passes the torch to Wilson Contreras. From there, Lars Nootbaar, a guy who's actually playing with the Japanese team in the World Baseball Classic. Jordan Walker will be in the DH role, followed by Brendan Donovan and Dylan Carlson lining out for right field. Let's take a look at the bench before we break down this starting lineup. Andrew Kinzer will be the backup catcher, followed by Juan Yepes, Paul DeYoung, and Nolan Gorman. Alex, what do you got on this Cardinals roster?
I mean, the lineup is incredible. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Tommy Edman's playing for Korea in the World Baseball Classic, and Lars Nootbaar is...
I did not know Edman was playing
for Korea. Edman's playing for Korea, and Lars Nootbaar's been electric on Team Japan, from like the pregame speeches where he can't understand a word, and then he's given one through a translator, to just making diving catches left and right. So that's been a pretty fun storyline. But, I mean, talk about high-end talent.
Yep.
Tommy Edman, great table setter, can steal bases, can kind of slap the ball around, really good leadoff. Tyler O'Neill might actually have the most power on this team. Doesn't have the contact skill of other guys, but just a muscle hamster, absolute freak. Looks like he could play running back. It steals bases too. Like, they probably should check him for roids, or he's just a superhuman.
What was it? A muscle hamster?
He's a muscle hamster.
I like that. That's
the
a new
original
one.
For those who want the original muscle hamster. It is Doug Martin, former running back of Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Little Dougie Martin.
Which explains, if you need context of what I'm talking about, look up Doug Martin. He is muscle hamster. But then you got Goldschmidt, Arenado. Obviously, we talked about two MVP front runners, one of them winning. Wilson Contreras, great player. Lars Nootbaar, really developing well. And then Jordan Walker. This guy looks like he could be a stud.
Yep.
They have him lined up at DH. I think he's naturally a third baseman, but can play outfield. Obviously not going to play third base when you have Nolan Arenado there. But 6'5", got pop, can hit the ball everywhere, can kind of steal a couple bases. Just looks like he's going to be a really good pro, and I think he's going to be in the front running for NL Rookie of the Year.
I like it.
Really, really love this lineup, and the fact, like, I think when I see a prospect like Jordan Walker come up on a team that already has such a good lineup, I get even more excited, because it's not like, oh, you have to come carry this team. It's like, if you carry this team or come play very well, you're going to push us over the top.
Yeah.
So I really like how that has worked out for them. And then Brendan Donovan and Dylan Carlson are no slouch either.
Nope.
I mean, they just don't have weaknesses in this lineup. Carlson and Brendan Donovan could probably hit around 260, 270, and just kind of spread the ball around the field. I mean, it's a really good lineup. And anytime you have Goldschmidt and Arenado, we saw last year, they carried this team without anyone else. Like, there were months where they were contributing 90% of the RBIs. It was that aggressive, and they were still good.
Yeah.
So you got to be excited if you're a Cardinals fan. It's a very, very good lineup.
No, without a question. I think you look at what else happened within the division. The Cubs got stronger. Milwaukee kind of didn't do a whole lot. But this team was able to get rid of the likes of Colton Wong. They've replaced him. It's a lineup that has depth and reliability throughout the nine, and some help on the bench. Let's take a look at this rotation and bullpen. The starting ace, the guy, the ageless wonder, and I really mean the ageless wonder, Adam Wainwright, returns for his 17th year in the major leagues, followed by Mike Mikolas, Jordan Montgomery, Jack Flaherty, and Steven Matz. The bullpen. The closer, Ryan Heasley, Giovanni Gallegos, thank you, Andre Palante, and much more. Alex, what do you got on this rotation and bullpen?
Yeah, so the rotation is solid. I think for this rotation to be good, Jack Flaherty has to have a really good year. Mm-hmm. And he's shown that he can do that in the past, but he has been injured. So it's a question of not only health, but then also, does he still have it? I think he does. There's no really reason to believe he doesn't. You just got to see that. Jordan Montgomery traded last year.
From the Yankees, yeah.
Yeah, from the Yankees in the Harrison Bader trade, and immediately just went on this tear where I don't think he gave up a run for like 6 starts. It was pretty
Impressive.
incredible stuff. So if they get a good year out of him, they're looking good. Adam Wainwright's probably going to pitch to like a 4-something ERA like he always does. Mikolas is good, but again, kind of getting into the latter part of his career unless you're Wainwright and pitch till 40. But a lot of pitch to contact guys. Not a lot of like high-end stuff, which isn't necessarily bad. What does concern me with is like come playoff time, I think this team's going to have to look to add, like if they really want to contend, they're going to have to look to add another guy.
Yeah.
Maybe 2, depending on what happens with Jack Flaherty. Because I don't think you're going to want to roll out with Montgomery and Wainwright and Miles Mikolas.
No, and you bring up Jack Flaherty. I think a guy that St. Louis had hoped would take over that kind of ace role for this team. He really hasn't. He is someone that I do think had some starts for this Cardinals team in the playoffs. I think you're spot on. A big trade deadline asset for this team would be a number 1 potential starter. I think that would carry a lot of weight for him. And
another thing, like on that, they're going to be able to trade for that because they don't need anything in the lineup. They don't need anything in the bullpen. This bullpen is loaded.
Yeah.
Ryan Helsley became one of the guys at the back end of the bullpen. Like we're talking like Emmanuel Clase. We're talking that type of like dude. He throws gas. He's really good, and they can rely. Like he's just a horse as their closer. So he's going to be great. Then you have Giovanni Gallegos, Andre Palante, both really good setup men. I mean, would be closers on other teams that good. And then Jordan Hicks, a guy who has a lot of gas, has had some injury problems, but like he can throw the ball hard, man. And he's got nasty stuff. That front 4 for that bullpen is fantastic, and it doesn't get worse. There's always like Genesis Cabrera, Chris Stratton, Dakota Hudson, all proven names in this bullpen. And they're still kind of young. They're in these prime years, so I just really like what they have here. I think the bullpen is going to be incredible. And it's like, okay, let's say the rotation, your starters are going, 5-6 innings, giving up 3 runs. That's nothing this lineup can't overcome. With one swing of the bat pretty much throughout the lineup, and then you can shut them down. I think they're going to be a really tough team in late innings, which is it's a recipe for success.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think this is the strongest bullpen in the division. I think it's one of the weaker potential rotations. We'll see what ends up happening. I do think you saw what the Cubs did. You saw what Milwaukee always has. We'll kind of see what happens there. Who is your X factor?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Jack Flaherty here. I mentioned I was probably hinting at it, but I think him just returning to that ace form, ace like 1A type form, really means a lot for this team. I think they need a guy like that who can come, I don't know what innings they're going to let him go, but like give the bullpen a little break. Let these teams run up leads, pitch the back half of the bullpen.
Yeah.
If he can become a guy who's striking guys out, really pitching well, it changes a lot for the outlook of this team come playoff time because that's realistically what they're looking at. The way how loaded this lineup is, everything they're looking at playoffs. They're not looking at anything else.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Ricky, plug your ears because I'm picking Wilson. Willie Contreras, that is my pick to click for this team. After obviously watching his counterparts in Chicago get shelled, dealt out at deadlines and just kind of let go, I think he's in a situation where he doesn't feel the pressure. He feels like he's got the stars that he had when the Cubs went on that magical run. If Wilson can find some of the stuff we saw from him in those All-Star years, I love this roster. So Wilson Contreras, be a star, be an all-star catcher, take over for Yadi Molina, lead this Cardinals team behind Goldschmidt and Arenado, and I think you've got a hell of a roster in the St. Louis Cardinals. Projections, easily finishing first in this NL Central. I do have a change in the guards in the second place finish, but the St. Louis Cardinals winning the NL Central once again from my end.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you here. I think like last year was a tighter division race from the start of the year. It seemed like the Brewers, a lot of people really like the Brewers. I just think the way they played last year and how good they were, and then how they went and added aggressively and had prospects come up like Jordan Walker. I just think this team has upside all across the board. Love having a good bullpen. Guy we didn't even talk about, Nolan Gorman, top prospect at second base, who's currently slotted not to start. I bet he ends up starting over Brendan Donovan. He's a little too good, a little more upside and power, but the fact that they don't necessarily need to start him is crazy and potentially could mean a trade piece, a top prospect with pop at second base could mean that's what you're training to get a top starter. Vibes are high here.
Real high, real high, real high. Can they compete with a team like the Mets or the Braves or the Phillies? We'll find out. But I do really love what the St. Louis Cardinals have built. Cardinals fans, Cards, if we've missed anything, feel free to hop in the comments, give us a like, a subscribe, check out much more of what we've got for the NL Central. That concludes our St. Louis Cardinals breakdown, and we're moving on to the Milwaukee Brewers.